Hello, all you composers out there. My name is Josh, and today I want to go over the new Hollywood Orchestra Opus edition made by East West. This is a fantastic product that has been highly anticipated with a new sample engine called Opus. There's some expansions on certain patches as well as the orchestrator. So we're going to dive in, talk about a little bit of everything. By the way, if you want to see more videos like this and support my channel, go ahead and press the subscribe button and smash that like button if you like this video. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the engine as well as some of the expanded instrumentation here. So I think everything here shows the expansions for the most part. I think I'm missing one more, so let's go ahead and add the orchestrator and the ensemble patches. So right there. Okay, so first off, we have here the three flutes, which is something that's new. They actually recorded a ensemble of flutes, as well as three clarinets, three bassoons. I'll play a little bit of each so you can hear. Here's some clarinets. Here's a bassoon. And then we have the 18 violin patch. Let's try how this works. Okay, and so on. The cellos, of course, were in the original. We also have bass. Sorry, that's kind of quiet. The ensemble patch, and right now I'm on staccatos. Let's see here. So this one's more for sketching purposes. I'll go back to my staccatos here. So we have I guess the lowest note here is a G1, it looks like. So we have, okay, so let's start. Right, and then they have some other patches too. They have one called a Sol Pont, Sol Tasto. Let me actually open this so you can see. So Sol Pont, Sol Tasto. That's very nice. Sol Tasto by itself. Okay, and then we have other articulations if you wanted to add that in as well. We'll talk more about the engine in just a second. There are two other expansions that I see here. So if you guys are owners of the Hollywood Orchestra, you'll know that there's a whole line of other instruments and not just the main ones, but it's sister instruments like you have alto flute, for instance, or bass flute. They have those as well. But let's see here with the new brass series. Let's go ahead and open this up. We have two trumpets expanded. I have the key switch master patch open up here, so here I can go ahead and try different articulations. This is the legato, I believe. And then this is a sustain patch. I have here the staccatissimo. And then we have just a staccato patch. We also have marcato and another. This is a sustained mute patch. And again, there's more expansions and choices to choose from. And then let's open up the trombone as well here. Let's open this up. Okay, so and then some staccato short patches. That's a marcato. That is a flutter tongue. And then the last is my rips. Okay, so I wanted to show you a little demo, something I wrote up real quick that will put all of these instruments together in a nice chorale fashion. So let's go and press play. Okay, and I'm using maybe as far as the reverbs, I'm using mainly the stock reverbs that come with each patch. You also have the bass and east-west cello patches that I've used as well to just kind of give some bottom end for these expansions. With that being said, let's go on to the engine itself. The engine is probably one of my favorite talking points. There are a lot of things to go over this, so let me just also bring up my notes. So the first thing about the sampler here is that we have a revamped way of where the GUI is set up. Before, the play would be on the right side. Now it's on the left side here where all the articulations are loaded. And if we look under the hood, we have some moods. So this is pretty awesome. I guess I'm on the cello right now, or actually the flute. So let's go to the cello, and we can hear the difference with that. So let's try maybe changing this up and do a soft mood. I'm going to change this articulation. So very soft, very, I mean, you can still bring up the wheels here, the mod wheels. Okay, so I'm on the portamento. I'm going to switch that patch over to legato. And what do you notice over here? As soon as I press soft, this changes the performance tab over here to the consordino, and then the mic positions change as well as the reverbs. So that's interesting. When you press classic, reverbs change. The consordino is selected off, and we only have the main mic position there. Okay, and then the other mood here is the epic, and as you'll notice, again, the reverbs change. Now we have a close mic position as well as a surround added on there. It's a nice feature to have. You know, when you're making a template, let's say, it's nice to be able to have this as an option. So if you're doing like a trailer, I think epics are nice to loading up all with the epic mood patches would be nice. The other thing here is if I go into the articulation side, then you'll see how on the key switch masters at least, or so all the individual instruments and their key switch patches, you actually have an expanded range of sounds to choose from. And maybe I think the best way to demonstrate this is to load up the equivalent cello patch that's from the play engine instead, so you can see the differences. Okay, I'm gonna load that up here. So, oh, by the way, I'm using the Hollywood Strings Diamond Edition. Okay, we're gonna go to the Cello key switch master. It's actually labeled differently too. It says just sus KS, and then I'll go into the player mode so you can see and compare. Okay, so I'm going to actually go into the articulations window here, and as you'll see, there's a lot more to choose from than the predecessor over here. There's trills. It goes all the way from sustain to the trills for the play. In the Opus, you have all of that, but then you also include the runs. You also include portamento patch, which is awesome. Um, Actually, I'm on the play. Let me go back to this one. So you have that. And then also you have the tremolo, which is included on both. Let's see, the measured tremolo. There's no measured tremolo for this one. I think there's no staccatos either. So on here, there's just all sustain patches. Whereas here, this is like a complete selection of articulations for this individual instrument, and that's what I love because you can actually pick and choose. Much like here, you can actually uncheck some of these too, but this just gives you more options. And so this has been pretty nice. I really like the articulations page itself, where you can turn it on, and then if you want to change a key switch, you just right click, and then you can go to here to change the key switch number. But you can also do the program change and controllers if you wanted to, and that gives you just more options to choose from. So really useful, really handy. I also would like to give a applause for them to being able to change the reverb saves on the session itself. So meaning if I turn this off and even maybe change some of these settings, I can close out a Cubase, come back to it the next day, reload the session, and it will save. Before, the Play engine struggled with that. Some of these patches were on, and if you turn it off and save and do the same thing, come back the next day, it wouldn't actually save the setting. It just turned back on. So that was kind of annoying. The workaround was just to turn the volume off, because this part would save, but not the reverbs on and off. So that is something that I am happy to say they fixed on this engine. And then another talking point is the purge. This is something that a lot of people may not know, but in something like Contact, you have a purge button, and it really helps to limit your RAM usage, especially if you have a smaller rig. I have a 64 gigabyte RAM storage, and it's been pretty good. I think that's probably the minimum if you're going to be using a huge template. But even with that being said, I will probably purge all of my samples when loading a template up, and it still works. So I'm still able to play things and have it access the samples. And as you'll see here, is only loaded up 42 of those notes that I've just played, 42 megabytes. And then if I want to just reload all I have to do is press this green button, and it loads everything. And as you'll see, it's quite a bit to load because this is the Epic patch, and there's 3 mic positions. But even then, I can still play. So that's another pro here. Before, if I were to load the play instrument and do something that's really big, let's say this one here, as you'll see, it's much slower, and I wouldn't be able to play anything during that time. Maybe, let's see, I'll give you one more example so you know what I mean. That's kind of confusing because I had something loaded up already. Okay, so nothing is loaded now, and if I press the load, you'll see nothing is able to be hit until it's fully loaded. And that can be a problem if, let's say, you have, you know, a multi-timbral type of articulation all loaded in one instance. Then you would have to wait for all those instruments to load, and that's a minor annoyance, but this has been a nice breath of fresh air in terms of how they were able to fix that, and so that you can play as it's being loaded. So that's something that's a very big positive. The only thing I could say that is a little bit of a con in this manner is I noticed that there's a little bit more RAM usage for everything, and that's okay because nowadays, so, you know, if you're starting with a 64 gigabit RAM or 128, something like that, it's not a big problem, but you know, it can be a problem if you're only using something that's around 16 to 32. So that's just a heads up if you're willing to fork out the money for something like this, a premium product like the East-West Hollywood Orchestra Opus Edition. I would also look into expanding your computer and your RAM capacity. So anything else? I think one other thing that I've noticed that's a little different that is missing from the Opus and from the previous play is this particular patch. It's called the sus accent patches. So I guess if I open up the French horn, and let's open this up right here. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Let's do browse French horn long sus accent max. If I do the main windows here, what's missing now is the play actually gave you some options to minimize the accent attacks. So let's go here. So right now I'm attacking pretty hard. If I go higher, you can really hear how that there's a front part of that articulation. So this is actually 2 or 3. Actually, in this case, there's 3 things going on. You have the front part of the attack, you have the sustain patch, and then you have the release. And you can actually control these and customize these. I think that part is nice to have. It's not, you know, for me, it's not a necessity, but I noticed that is missing on here. I could be wrong. It might be under some of these other things, but I did not see it. Let's see here. It might be under one of these automation parameters, actually, but I could be wrong. If you guys happen to know that information, go ahead and make a comment below. But that was one other thing that I've noticed that was missing. So if you like to customize and tweak some things, that might be something you'll miss from the play, but the play engine will still be there, and it'll still be able to play your older sessions that have play stuff on there. So it'll be more of a legacy engine. But the Opus is the new player, the new kid on the block here. So you know, from this point on, I recommend just changing out your templates to the new Opus and getting the benefits of the CPU or the RAM usage and its efficiency behind that, as well as being able to enjoy the moods, your different mic position options. Oh, that actually reminds me. One other talking point for this Opus engine is now you can actually right click things kind of like on Contact, and you can learn the MIDI assignments. For instance, I have this little menu here, and for if I wanted to, let's say, change this out to this fader right here that I have on my end, I can do that, and I can do this for all 4 faders. You can do it for the gain as well, and this is a very pleasant improvement as well. Okay, so in addition to the MIDI learning assignments, there's so many other great positives for this. So I'll summarize again. You have the option to purge and load up quickly and intuitively compared to the plays version of that. And then you have your moods. You can now save the reverb on and off between sessions, and then you can learn your MIDIs. In addition, I think one more talking point that I find that was really useful. In this case, this is a single articulation width patch, but if I go back into my KS master patches, key switch masters, you can now go into the articulations window right here, and you can now customize your key switches to a higher degree. One thing I forgot to mention is now you can go all the way down to C-2. Before you weren't able to do that. So there's just a lot more options in terms of the patches that you can choose from, as well as your customization for how to switch it, and a very intuitive way to turn them on and off. You can also access them here, but you can't do the customization on this page. All of that would be done here. So, okay. I think that covers the engine. I can't stress how cool this new engine is. Very snappy, and I feel like there's something to be said about this engine that is very comparable to the likes of the Contact and Sine players that are out there right now. Alright, and finally we're going to go over the Orchestrator here. The Orchestrator is a very intuitive way to make music on the fly, to sketch things quickly. There's a lot of great uses for this. So first off, when you open it, it's empty, which indicates you can create your own custom patches, also indicated here with the user tab. But let's go back to what's presetted and what's out there. There's a lot of options for just ensembles. Let's just go to something here where it's a full ensemble, and as it loads, there's going to be a lot of different instruments that load up on the left hand side. You'll see if I press all of those, then all of these play. Under the hood we have, it looks like, all of the orchestra basically. So you have woodwinds, you have some brass, you have strings. Okay, very similar to, let's say, the ensembles patch, but it's just they're actually individual instruments that are being loaded here. So these are all your ensembles, and as you'll imagine, all of these options combine certain instruments together, and you can play all at once. So it's a multi-timbral way of making music. What's actually makes this orchestrator even cooler are the ostinatos and the scores. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some ostinatos. Let's try like a action eighth note type of sound here. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, so here I'm just going to right, and of course this is all time stretch, so you can go faster if you wanted. It has even drums on there. You can mute these if you wanted to. So all the timpani and bass drum stuff are muted now. You can get rid of the strings and just do the other stuff. Right. I think strings really add more life to that. Right. And whatnot. So there's all sorts of options. You can do even 16ths or triplets. Let's try some 16ths. And this will be interesting depending on how fast the tempo is. I mean, wow, it's really amazing what they're able to pull off. And under the hood, you can see here you have your first violins doing an octave up, second same, and the violas are in the zero, so it's actually playing as is. The strings are doing an octave below, bass is doing 2 octaves below. Percussion, you'll see how that is blended together. Timpani lowest note is an octave below to match what the bass drum note is doing. And then we have also the brass. Brass is also doing some octave belows to match, I guess, certain sounds or keys that are being played by other notes. So as you imagine, this is a very full sound that you can do right away. Saves you loads of time. Even just for sketching purposes, this gives you great ideas to start with. And besides the ostinatos, we also have the score. The score are your even more custom programmed type of MIDI sequencing that East-West has written for you so that you can start your own ideas and hopefully build off of them. My opinion is with any type of preset, you're going to be battling other composers using the same presets. So it's best to use these as a base layer to start with, and then you can even customize and tweak some of these settings if you need to make your own sound. But these are great. These out of the box, this is probably by far one of the most pleasurable experiences to make music just by putting on some chords like this. I mean, it's really sweet. I can just sit here for hours and play with all of these and make some fun music. So the Dark Hero is, that superhero sound, maybe something like Batman. There's also one called Black Knight, so that's definitely a darker Black Knight, aka Batman sound. So let's hear this. Yeah, it's that Hans Zimmer sound. Good. So one thing I've noticed that maybe East West will fix later is that the sustain pedal is not working with my chords. So as soon if I'm depressing my pedal down, it's not actually holding the notes out. And so, something I've read in the forums is that is something that they may uh, fix on the upgrade and actually add as a part of the option there. So, anyways, still really cool. And that's not a problem if you program, but if you're playing live, that would be really nice to be able to get that sustain pedal going. Here's another preset here. This is a Elves World. Let's go higher. I mean, come on. I mean, this is amazing stuff. I highly recommend the Orchestrator in terms of being able to get ideas out quickly. I think it's so fun to have this as a addition to the entire Hollywood Orchestra Opus edition. So, with that being said, there are a lot of great things to think about if you're wondering whether you should get it or not. So I hope this video helps you in your decision, and I certainly have enjoyed the upgrade. So big kudos to East West for making such a great product. And if you guys want to see more videos, press that like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks.